Hey everyone! Before I start, I'd like to make a really awesome announcement that I am now sponsored by Speedkeep Shop. I'm so excited to be able to join Team SES and super grateful to now be supported by them from here onwards. I wouldn't have decided on making this sponsorship a reality if I also wasn't supportive of their products and services. So it would be really amazing for you guys to consider making your next order with them. You can now use code BlueJacket for 5% off your order. I have more content in the future planned that'll be made possible by them, so definitely stay tuned for that. Alright, so I asked you guys on both YouTube and Instagram for some questions to answer for this video, and I got a whole heap of responses to go through, so let's get into it. How does it feel to be one of the best pyramid solvers in the world? Well, Elias, I'd hate to tell you, but I'm definitely not. Even though I may be top 20 in the world for pyramid single, that was just a result of purely dumb luck, and there is no chance that I'll ever be as fast as you, since you will inevitably beat my single. Why clock and square one too, kinda? I mainly started practicing clock all the way back in 2020 because I enjoyed the different kind of solving that I had, and the fast improvement that I got was very satisfying. I know some people who hate clock because it's mostly a grindy event that doesn't fit with the rest of them, but that's partly why I personally like it. Some of you can tell me I'm wrong for liking clock, but I don't care. I guess today a reason why I'm drawn to the event is the amount of developments that have been made with the no-flip methods, especially 7 simul, even though I am a flip solver. However, the amount of small tricks and optimizations used in flip solving that are being used more and more recently are also pretty cool in my opinion. As for square one, a lot of why I like it comes from the reason I like Vandenberg, the method I and many others use. Things such as EP and PBL tricks are really fun to learn and practice, and I personally like that it is a mostly linear and conceptually simple way to solve it. What got you into clock? One thing to mention that I think did inspire me quite a bit was watching Darby Lee demolish the clock OCRs in early 2020, and I thought that was pretty cool. As lockdowns began to come, I thought I would get somewhat fast at it, initially having the goal of making national finals, which became making national podium, which eventually turned into setting my sights on OCR, when I really saw myself improving fast to averaging about low 7. Keep in mind that OCR average at the time was low 6, so it did begin to seem like a realistic goal to have. How many clock solves do you do in 1 week? As of recently, it hasn't been that many since I'm also kind of occupied with my last year of high school. Otherwise, I'd probably guess about 500 solves. I could be way off, but I wouldn't really know for sure. What is objectively the best pizza topping? If I wanted to anger the pineapple haters, I would say pineapple here. Oh, actually, yeah, I want to anger the pineapple haters. Pineapple it is. What would you like for your birthday? A beef burrito would go hard. I'll go with that. Are you in love with Miles? Yes. Next question. Do you think you can get clock world record by the end of the year? Definitely not. I only have a realistic chance of getting the single with a very good scramble, but I'm expecting it to be lowered by a lot before the year finishes. Favorite lubes? Weight 5 is definitely a reliable core lube that pretty much everyone uses a lot, so I might go with that. However, I am personally a fan of Speedkeep Shop's Cosmic Lubes. I've used Martian in a lot of my puzzles since before my first competition, so I'd have to say Martian as a close second for me, regardless of the fact that I am now on Team SES. Can you give me free Rubik's? Unfortunately, Ari, I cannot, but you can order from speakershop.com using code BlueJacket to save 5%. That's the next best thing, I'd say. Any idea how to lube a clock? Fellow Australian clocker and former OCR holder Conan has a video dedicated to the setup of the Chia clock. I'll link it below. The newer batches have a weird thing where the center clock magnets on each side are raised higher in the piece for a stronger magnetic force, but you can push them down with a pin or something to make them the same as the rest of them. I never had to do this myself as I personally always use the same old batch Chia from 2020. How many solves a week do you think needs to become world class? This is something which will definitely not have a simple answer. If you're talking about clock, then it is a pretty grindy event. But if you're also solving with flip, then you'd have to be open to learning every viable trick that is used to save moves. It really depends on how dedicated you are as well. The amount of work you put in is usually the same as what you get back. And the definition of world class is also pretty subjective, so that makes it even more hard to really quantify how often you need to practice. I'd say just stay dedicated if you have a big goal and know that it takes a huge amount of commitment to become world class in pretty much anything. How to become faster at clock. I got a few questions under this umbrella. So I'll just pretty much say, if you're a flip solver, learn techniques to save moves. I'll link another video from Conan that covers a lot of these. Once you have done this, practice using these tricks as much as you can. Other than that, just keep on the grind. How are you so handsome? What can I say? It's just something that comes from being the most attractive 4.22 clock Oceanic record average holder and 3.11 clock Australian national record. Internationals. I have one international comp planned in the future, which is the World Championship in Korea. Super excited for that. But apart from that, no really current plans to compete overseas, though I would love to do that some more next year if I do have the time. Is JK corners plus cap worth it? To be honest, I can't really say that I'm familiar with what JK corners is, but I can give a few thoughts on cap. Cap or corner alignment parity, which was discovered and coined by Conan, involves tracing all 14 unique pieces of the clock to get a value from -5 to +6, which is affected when an odd number of clocks are turned at a given time. When the cap value is 0, there will be no need to align to 12 for the last move if all moves made turned an even number of clocks. This can be somewhat useful in cases where the first face has a final alignment move, which is the same as the move needed to solve cap, which saves a move. However, the main reason why I don't think this is exactly useful is because of the tracing aspect, which can be practiced to done pretty fast in inspection, but I believe it would take quite a bit of time out of planning the more important stuff, such as starting orientations for both sides, looking for any edge skips that are hard to spot, and pseudo corner skips, not to mention that tracking where the corners go in inspection after the planned first moves can help in predicting possible skips, which can lead to smoother solves. I could go on and on, but I'm sure many others can see why things such as cap can be seen as a lot of effort for not very much reward, especially with 15 seconds of inspection only. There is pretty much always better things to look for in inspection. How do you increase TPS without destroying accuracy? Lately, I found the best way to ensure fast but accurate turning is to make sure you're properly warmed up and done a good amount of practice solves where you prioritize accuracy and build a rhythm of increasing turning speed with some more solves. There was this turning exercise that I remember being used since before the Chi. It was basically to repeatedly do turns of the same kind with different amounts of pins. For example, repeatedly doing 2+ with 1 pin, 2 pins, and so on. And basically doing that for a few seconds for every type of move can help you refamiliarize yourself with the amount of force needed to do a certain turn. I may be going a bit too deep into this, but hey, if it works, it works. It doesn't, feel free to yell at me. A question from Conan himself, Whitlam or Fraser. Michael Tripodi. How do you stay motivated after a string of bad results? It was mostly just believing that it wouldn't take forever for me to get a result that I deserved if I just stayed determined. But I would be lying if I said it didn't really feel like that at some points. I would usually give myself a reality check to say that it's like only a matter of time before I pull off something really good, which happened sooner than I thought it would, thankfully. Biggest setback you've had? It definitely goes without saying that DNFing a sub-3 single and like my whole average in Oceanics finals was a huge mental setback, but I'm pretty happy to have gotten over that quicker than I thought. Another one I revisit less was my first clock DNF average at a local comp. I also DNF'd what would have been a tied PR single, and I felt like I had so many other chances to break OCR single while it was still easy, but I fumbled them all really hard. It was also the tipping point of what was a pretty bad week for me in a lot of other areas, so definitely did not feel good after that comp. Favorite comp? It's honestly very hard to choose, but I'm going to say Australian Nationals 2022. It was my first interstate comp, got to meet so many people and catch up with many others. The time we also spent outside of competing and the lead up to the comp was also really memorable. Though with Worlds in a couple months, I'm unsure if it will remain as my favourite comp for that much longer. Goal for clock by the end of the year. My number one goal for clock in general is currently to get a sub-4 official average, which I definitely believe in myself to be able to get soon enough. Worlds podium will also be neat, but given my history of doing horribly in major finals, I'm not really as sure on that one. Is full cube shape needed for sub 10 on square one? Yes, if you're planning on being fast at Square One at all, learning to solve every cube-shaped case efficiently and eventually learning full CSP, I'd say, is very necessary. Main Megaminx. YJ Yuhu V2. I recently switched from the Dian V2 because of the Dian's small size and speed made it a bit difficult to control. What future event are you planning to get cracked at? I plan to commit to and grind out a certain event once I find a lot of time to do it, but for now that shall remain a secret. A specific few people watching this may know exactly which event I'm referring to. And with that, that's all the questions I've got for this video. Thank you all very much for submitting them all and for watching to this point. Another huge thanks to Speaky Shop for sponsoring me, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for me with their support. Once again, definitely stay tuned. Catch you later.